is 6:31, so I will call the work session of the Mayor and Council for the City of Snellville, Georgia for Monday, June 28th, 2021 to order. So we'll first go through the regular business meeting and public hearing agenda items. For the invocation, we have Marcia Anderson. Is it Eson?
Yes.
Eson, is that right? And is it Marcia?
Yes.
Am I saying that right? She's the president-elect for the Snellville Lions Club. So she's going to have the invocation tonight.
No. I just work here.
And then anyone for the pledge?
I'll do it if you don't have a person.
Huh?
I'll do it if you don't have somebody.
Marcia has guests with her.
Lions Club do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All you have to do is stand up and say, I pledge.
And then we'll all join in.
And then we'll just pull in.
Okay.
Want to try it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, we have somebody from the
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just say the Lions Club members will lead us in the pledge.
Okay.
That's appropriate.
Yes.
Anybody else need to say it?
Then we will swear in a new police chief.
Oh, who's that going to be?
It's a surprise.
Okay.
Not telling anyone until the last minute.
Are these flowers for him?
I would have gone with his blue roses.
And all he has to do is make a video explaining, how he got where he is. Gotta get him to do that. Brian is not here to twist your arm. I hope y'all have seen Roy's.
I haven't.
Flowers?
Roy's got a video, kind of a going away video. Their little history and everything. Y'all need to check that out.
Nice. Is that up on the
Very
Facebook?
relaxed.
Well, he is now. He's already checked out. He's on the
He doesn't even wear a
I
vest.
think this is.
He's in neutral
They
now.
wanted a Motorola watch card and they wanted a contract signed. I said, I'll sign it.
Don't sign any Motorola contract.
So it's not often I get to swear at the police without seeing some silver bracelets come out with it, but get to do that tonight. And then we have a proclamation. That's another secret. Won't talk about that.
I'll act surprised over it.
And below that.
I don't know, where's it going? Am I holding it? Okay, and then we have, do I need to do it right now?
Yeah, you need to do it right now because she's going to have a fit if you don't.
I can tell she's about to jump out of her seat.
Yes.
Too much caffeine.
People say, I can't keep a secret.
Then we have the approval of the minutes. We'll approve the agenda. We've got under new business, the resolution for the general election. The resolution for the policy for processing appointments. We do have one adjustment to make on that.
Melissa, if you can, on the copy I sent you, on the bottom of the page under 2, on number 3 here, very bottom, last paragraph. I was trying to save the city money and be fast, and I left out the word not, which actually would be important in this case.
Number 3?
Yeah, it should read, the boards, commissions, authorities of the city shall act as a nominating committee for individual boards, commissions, and authorities in the event that the mayor's nomination does not have the unanimous support of the city council.
Okay, and then I'll be nominating Norman Carter for the Parks and Rec Board. Okay. So everything currently on the agenda. Any correspondence, Butch?
No, ma'am.
Did we take the last item off? Okay.
No, but I think we're gonna talk about that in work session.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kinda hidden in there. I need to make sure I don't miss that. City attorney's report,
You're gonna need an executive session for this.
update.
I tried to get caught up with a lot of things today. On the town center, we have a meeting tomorrow with Winter regarding the rock issue and the bringing in of the drill rig. So I'll send an update to you after we have that meeting. The library parcel is scheduled to close on Wednesday. And if you remember, that's one of 3 parcels that we're buying back for the cost of the site work. Site work is 99.9% done now, so we should have a final number, hopefully on Wednesday or Thursday there, and I'll get that information out to you also. If you remember, we had a cap of somewhere around 1.9 million, and we're nowhere near that. So even with the rock that we encountered, so overall things have gone pretty well there. The only problem, that rock meeting, is just the parking deck. You know, what's in the parking deck footing area. So hopefully we get some good news tomorrow. A reminder that the regular Kaiser call is Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and that's going to concern a lot of things, but the main thing is the roadway bid is going to be out soon. All the public improvements that we walked, you know, from the mini roundabout to the changes there at North, that bid should be out soon. We submitted that to DOT, and as opposed to the intersection discussion, that went very well. The review went very well, and we answered all the questions. So that will be out soon, and that's not going to hold anything up. Human resource issues. I've had a couple of lunches with good candidates, assistant city manager candidates. I'm trying to find the right person that I believe will be here a long time. We've narrowed it down. We probably had 60 applications. Narrowed it down to 3 or 4 good ones. We had some interesting ones, that's for sure. Whenever you have a job in the South, there are a lot of people who want to move down here from a lot of townships in Illinois, believe it or not.
Yeah, lots of people.
And but I have contacted everybody and let them know what we're looking for and why they may not fit the bill, and I didn't want to pay for their
Did you get a
travel.
call from Matt Reeves?
What's that?
Did you get a call from Matt Reeves?
No.
He's got a guy
Okay.
He's got a guy.
Okay. Okay.
he wanted you to look at.
All right. Another HR announcement, Robin Gordon, who's been our interim chief court clerk for the last 3 months, has done such a good job. We are going to take the interim off of her title, and July 1 she becomes the chief court clerk. She's really done a good job. You know, we have another new clerk in there, and she's done a good job with her, and I think things are going to work out there. And of course, Greg is on the agenda for tonight, and
What's that?
Before.
Is he getting a bad mark in his thing again?
His permanent record will be
His permanent
soiled.
record, yeah.
On annexation, one of the things that throughout my time here with Chief Roy Whitehead, one of the things that he has kept on my plate is annexation. And so I'm going to recruit Roy under a little private services contract to help us on some annexation. Roy knows everybody. He knows everybody on the outskirts of town. He's made good suggestions in the past, but because we kind of had that agreement with the county, we we weren't aggressive when it came to annexation. So we're going to let him take a break for a little while, but next week we're going to sit down and talk about that. A short break.
Is he gonna go out in uniform and talk to his people?
So you're gonna de-annex my house, right?
I think in a lot of cases, people are interested in annexation because.
Of police, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
That- And
So,
to be able to really.
yeah, I didn't think
explain-
there would be a better representative there. So, it really is our number one selling point. We have free garbage service, we have a slightly lower taxes, depending on how the county maneuvers their formula. But, the police, law enforcement and that coverage is a big plus to everybody. No progress with GDOT. I haven't had a chance to follow up with them since the last meeting on the 78-124. We're still working on that overall landscaping plan. Sidewalk improvements, do we want to go into that now? An update?
Up to
Barbara?
Well, we've got it coming up on the
Okay.
work
okay.
session, so.
All right. We still no money from ARPA. We're in the same boat as a lot of cities. And I know they have there are a lot of communities out there, but, everybody, if you judge by the number of emails back and forth between cities and GMA, everybody's worried.
Right.
But we've taken every preliminary step that we need to. We're just kind of waiting on the state and OPB. I guess no movement on the alcoholic beverage code. That really probably is going to take a work session to discuss. The Briscoe Park Master Plan, Lisa will be here July 12th with her vision for the park, and really it's a brainstorming presentation also, because our kickoff meeting is 2 days after that. So we need to get a lot of, kind of put our agenda together for that meeting on the 14th. Tax billing, we're still on target for mailing September the 15th. I think you got the information on the millage rate, which obviously is a necessity. The millage rate meetings, we have two. Our next meeting is July the 12th, next regular meeting. So we took that date, 11:30 a.m. We need to have a public hearing on the millage, and at 6:30 that evening at the work session, and then final adoption 2 weeks after that at the 7:30 meeting.
What time is Lisa's presentation?
What's that?
During the work
No, it's
session.
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Okay.
Well, no, her presentation is just in the work session.
Yes, she'll be here in the work session on July
That's Monday.
12th. Lisa
Okay.
will.
And
then July 14th is our work session
Is the
to talk about the future of the park.
And it's on the 12th.
Yes.
Yes.
Do I?
July 12th is our next regular meeting.
Oh, I do have, I was about to say, I don't have July 14th, but I do.
Okay.
I do have
We
that.
talked about that last time.
July 12th or July 14th?
July 12th, she'll be here for the work session. July
Okay.
14th is,
Or a kickoff
A work
meeting for the
session.
master plan update.
Okay,
But
that's
the
what
work
I
session
meant.
at the regular
4 to
time,
6,
it's not
right?
extended.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
And 4 to 6 on the 14th?
That's
yes.
right.
4 to 6, that's what I had on my calendar.
Right.
But also on the 12th, there's an 11:30 a.m. meeting where we need a quorum.
Right.
So we need to make sure we can get
I
enough
will
people
be.
here to do that. And that's the millage rate discussion. Quality of life, I know, I'm sorry that I missed the meeting last week. I know that I had a chance to meet Mr. Roberson and go over the discussion with Chuck. A very frustrating situation. The police department has been working, I guess, with Mr. Elam and that situation for months. Jason and his crew, they've been involved for the last 30, 45 days. And the neighbors have been involved for months also. And I guess you had the discussion. But they've tried. They've brought food. They've tried all kinds of things with Mr. Elam. And I don't know if he's slipped and kind of gone downhill, but his behavior just has become more bizarre over time. And that's when everything just kind of exploded. So,
Yeah, if you want to.
Just adding on to that, so we did have one change today. So the Department of Environmental Health in the county came out and put a note on his door declaring it to be a health danger for anyone to be in the house. The problem, first of all, it's very helpful to us. For one thing, it's the first thing I put into my nuisance complaint for abatement was that the county health department has declared that, and we actually are going to need that expert opinion from the health department. As far as any actions that can be taken from that, the statute, Tony and I did some research on it today. Unfortunately, there's not any really great enforcement by the state. I mean, I think probably the police could go out if he goes in the house and they could arrest him for violating the health code, but I don't know that really gets anything done. Now, obviously, if he comes back to trespasses, Mr. Choate's property, he's going to get arrested. He's going back to jail. The other thing that I did do, I talked to Mr. Choate at length last week, and I put him in touch with the solicitor at the jail who had not reviewed Mr. Elam's case when they decided to change his bond to an OR bond and just let him out without telling anybody. So I'm certain that Mr. Choate gave him the solicitor, a good explanation of what he has to experience. So in the event that Mr. Elam does find himself at the Gwinnett County Jail again, I suspect, I can't guarantee it, but I suspect that there will be a little different evaluation of his situation. I don't anticipate, this will be up to Greg, but I don't anticipate that absent him causing a problem at the house, that the fact that the house has been found unfit, is that in itself is going to be a way to keep him out of the house. So,
and as an update for everybody who's in the meeting, today the medical power of attorney got notice that Medicaid had turned down Mr. Elam again. So I've reached out to my contact in Social Security and asked him what the next step is. And I think from previous conversations, it's going to require Mr. Elam having an attorney that will then take a case before, and I can potentially get that moved up, potentially, if once he has an attorney who can file that. And only because I know the judge.
Who's going to pay for the
Well, my understanding is when the attorneys typically take them on, and if they are successful, it's paid for by the Social Security Administration.
I don't know the answer to that. That's one area I don't practice in. But,
I've had a friend for over a decade who's a judge.
Gotcha.
And since the going rate of approvals is about 98%, attorneys have a tendency to take them on contingency because they will
represent him.
No. He's already told me he can't represent me. He can't represent him.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll double check on that. And I did not have a chance to get in touch with Mr. Robertson to follow up, or the medical power of attorney to follow up.
I'm not comfortable due to our ethical guidelines making any recommendations.
No.
I'm sorry. So I just have to sit on my hands on this one.
Yeah. And I totally understand.
The only other thought that I had is perhaps Mr. Roberson, I don't know, might be able to make another run at the Atlanta Hope program that we talked about last week now that he's out.
What happened there that didn't work out?
Well, so when we all last spoke, he was still incarcerated, and we were assuming, as we had been told, he had a $1,300 bond, that he would be evaluated by the jail staff. Hopefully their new mental health program was going to evaluate him. Evidently that night, and I don't know this for certain, but from what I've gathered, evidently that night, I guess due to his symptoms, someone went to one of the magistrates and said, hey, we got to get him out of here. And they gave him an OR bond, and somehow or the other he managed to find his way home the next morning, and already Greg had calls the next morning of him climbing back through the window of the house again. So.
Has Mr. Choate been kept?
He has,
today?
yes. No, we've, I know I talked to him Friday, you know, I haven't talked to him since Friday, but,
I give him updates whenever
yeah.
I know something.
Is that
Usually
where
he's sending
he
me
still
updates.
is? Is he still in the house?
He's in the house.
He is in the house.
Last, I think our code enforcement was out there and he was at the house already.
We were out there yesterday.
Yeah.
And the fire department was out there yesterday.
Looks like y'all had fun.
I mean, it really,
That's all he
it's gonna
knows.
be contingent on him getting someplace that can help him.
Wow. But even once he's approved by Social Security, it's not gonna matter, because if he does not agree to stay in a group home or stay wherever
Because it's a
he's able to
yeah.
find residence, he can walk out the door. He's not under any obligation. He's not,
Yeah.
so.
I think I go back
We're
to
gonna
the
go
house.
through all of this, and he will still say,
Adios, I go to the house. That's all he knows.
right,
Well, going through all of this means following the abatement through, which
Right.
eventually means knocking the house down.
And so that will occur, that hearing will be on July 14th. So that's the first available court date that we can get scheduled for.
did you inform Mr. Cho to that?
I believe I did, I'm not sure. I may or may not have, I'm not sure. There's been so many calls.
It's gonna go on until the house is
Oh, yeah.
boarded up or gone.
Yeah.
The one thing you also notice on there is noise ordinance. You received an email from Chuck today that had the updated noise ordinance, plus another item that we're gonna discuss in executive session. So I guess that's just for everybody's review and.
Yeah, so the only concern really I have on the noise ordinance is, and Caroline Pack is here today, has done a lot of really good work on it, but, you know, you'll notice that there was a lot of these tables with times and feet. And my only concern is, and this is where we're not in a rush on this, we want to make sure we get it right on this one. You know, are we really, are these feet and distances, you know, are these numbers you know, do we want to work within those confines? Because what I don't want to have happen is I don't want the police or code enforcement or planning in a situation where they're, you know, having to go out with a decibel meter and a tape measure when people start complaining and saying, oh, well, I'm within 300 feet and I can hear this. So we really need to make sure we give this some thorough thought. You know, and maybe, you know, maybe it's a conversation that Greg or the police need to chime in on, and Jason as well.
Well, one of the reasons we, you know, changed that whole section about, you know, construction noise was we just thought it was unreasonable. with
Absolutely.
houses being built as close as they are these days,
Right.
and that's why we just decided to make it at nighttime. that
Right.
there could be-
So, but I mean, even, you know, some of the things I was looking at on some of these are, you know, even the noises during regular times in multifamily units, you know, even, you know, you've got, you know, at 9 to 7 a.m., only 10 feet or more. And if you're in a multifamily, it may be 3 feet you can hear through the walls. So,
We'll have
you
to
know,
take
so that's why I want everyone just to really kind of,
I don't think a lot of those are reasonable.
that's,
Well, we did that, though. The reason we're looking at this whole thing is because that is the ordinance that Gwinnett County
Absolutely.
had put in place. What we did have had everything was subjective and was totally left up to, you know, it's not that bad. If you don't have something concrete,
absolutely.
then
Possible.
I'm not saying get rid of
nobody
it.
can nobody can ever have certainty. I'm just concerned about if we change, and I'm not a huge fan of the distances, and a lot of it just seems kind of strange to me also. But it gives us something, and I would rather adopt it as matching Gwinnett County and then changing it if we find that it becomes untenable or if it becomes an issue. But Barbara could, when she gets a call from our good friend down on Timberline complaining about somebody, one of his neighbors making noise, she can now direct him to an ordinance that gives distance and times, whereas if we adopt this, which may head off some issues also, rather than just saying, okay, I'll send the police out. Because right now, literally, it's just, well, you know, you're making noise, stop it.
No, I just want to make sure our distances. That's, I mean, I'm kind of getting really specific, and, you know, to make sure that those are, that they're accurate.
None of them make any sense, and I don't know where they came from, but
Yeah.
they're what Gwinnett County has, and I just figured, or I think we figured.
Yeah.
it was
Carol, is that
just-
right? Did all these numbers, are they identical matches to Gwinnett County?
Well, I changed them, the 7 to 9 are new, I changed those today. but-
Right.
The
The
construction
distance.
noises, you changed, I guess, yeah.
Yes, I made all the changes, Gretchen let me know.
But the number, the feet, are those all identical to what Gwinnett
Feet are
County has?
identical, yes.
Okay.
And then the new section that I added, the residential, or mixed use that abuts to or that abuts to residential, we need to come up with that, because that's not in the Gwinnett County ordinance.
So maybe we can put it on the calendar for the next cycle through, but in the meantime, everyone just take a look at that and see if they've got concerns, and we can just change those.
Maybe we can reach out to the county and find out where it came from.
What they were thinking
Yeah, because,
would be nice.
Gotta be some kind of national, like, distance
Yeah,
rating,
best
like
practices.
because-
audio file type system. I guarantee you that's some number kind of
Do
like
you have
that.
any contact, Jason, with the county that would probably know?
Not on that end. I mean, I know like everybody over there that I knew, there's only a couple people left in site development, and then water and sewer and fire, that's it. I mean, that's probably came out of the legal department, don't you think, Scott?
It's possible. They've had a lot of change with their
Yeah, so I would-
short-term and long-term planning personnel recently too.
I bet you can Google and see that there's some kind of manual for noise ordinances based on decibels and uses,
Yeah.
and it probably came right out of some like universal traffic code type thing
Right.
for noise. Just like lighting, it's all been standardized.
right,
Like Chuck was talking about making sure we get those numbers right, like, it'll be awesome to have a thing that we can point directly to, but then, on the other end, you're gonna have that guy saying it's 296 feet per Google map and it's 948, you know, it's gonna create a lot more burden on services too, so.
and just for clarity, city events, county events, all
Yeah,
all
those
that
are
sort of stuff
excluded. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
are exempt.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of
Exempt.
stuff that's exempt, and some of it makes
Even the
sense.
church bells are exempt.
The church
Right.
bells, we
Now-
be very
I did.
careful, yeah.
Yeah,
And that was,
I was in contact with the Methodist church, because they played them at every hour and half hour during the day, and I don't
Yeah.
think anybody has objected to them.
No, they're not
They're not
head knockers. It's
Well-
nice.
but the flip side of that is, your neighborhood was having some noise issues a few weeks back. It turned out to be the dance studio down in Fountain Square Shopping Center. Yeah,
Right,
Fountain Square.
right.
But they thought it was one of the churches. If churches are totally exempt, if it's 11 o'clock at night and they're woo-hoo, you know, making a lot of noise,
Plus they have athletic fields and stuff
Yeah,
too.
we have nothing-
Generators too, something to consider. I would-
Well, why don't we just, we'll put it on the two read cycles, and just everyone, if you've got input, we can change it at our next work session, we can change it, and then it'll be the final form for the second read.
well, I don't have a problem moving it.
Well, it's gotta have two reads. It's gotta
Well,
be-
correct, but I don't have a problem with having it on another work session or two
Okay, well, that's,
Yeah.
before we put it
I
on
don't
our
think it's
calendar. I don't.
urgent to.
Yeah.
well, I think that's a good idea.
We want to get it right, rather than
Okay,
rush
well, that sounds
through.
good. Good, okay.
Take our time.
And one final thing, I just want to thank everybody around this table in this room for your prayers and thoughts and condolences over the last week. It's really helped Jennifer and her mom get through everything, and we really appreciate that. Matt Crow, didn't have a middle name, M-A-C Crow,
Wow.
and he was kind of a unique individual and good person, always had a smile, and everything works out for the best. And God, brought us to a good point, and just appreciate everybody's thoughts and prayers, that's for sure.
Okay, item B, planning and development and code enforcement updates. Gretchen?
My only thought about this isn't a big deal. I was kind of taken back when we found out about the Mountain View situation, and maybe it wasn't possible for us to know any sooner, but I would just, if there's ongoing problems with code enforcement or a situation like that, if we could be just brought into the loop. Because, you know, I was just surprised when we got Marvin Schultz's email saying this had been going on for as long as it had, and I thought, and I mean, he really, and there's probably another side to this story that I don't know. He was very accusatory towards us for not being involved and taking action, and I felt like, well, this is the last time I recall hearing him complain about anything was a couple of years ago when he complained about gutters on the house. And I haven't heard a thing since then, and I just thought, just keep us in the loop so we're aware and don't get, you know, hit by information that we.
Yeah, and I don't mind speaking on behalf of, and not specifically this case, because there's more like fingers to it than that. Marvin Choate, if you first remember, and nothing against Marvin, understanding he's a concerned citizen, and he's got an issue going on, is we originally dealt with him with a board appointment that he wanted, and we didn't get back to him within 4 or 5 days, and I got one of those formal, nasty grams, scathing. I spoke to the man, he's a much different personality, but I think that's almost his way of, you know, writing a couple pages to say what you could say in earlier paragraphs. And in regards to code enforcement issues, whenever it gets to a point where we can't solve it internally, and this, you know, it comes to abatement to you guys, it goes right to Chuck, right to Butch, and then we push forward. This one was a little different. There was multiple issues going on that project. It wasn't just, you know, a dilapidated inside. There was, you know, as you can see, layers upon layers and layers, and that's what we do with the abatements. When we have something we can't solve, it comes to you guys as far as code enforcement. But our resources are limited necessarily to the outside of the house until we go to the judge. I mean, we can go in, but once we start going inside for not really code-related issues, like we have, you know, we just have less authority and the resources to get it done. But when you see an abatement, that means something you need to know about.
And I think maybe if PD could give us a heads up if there's repetitive stuff.
Yeah, that's all.
This isn't going to go away. And
I mean, not that we can do anything, but just so we're in the loop. I think that was the only thing.
You never know if we can or we can't.
Well, sometimes we might be able to.
Well, part of the information initially were medical calls. So, and we had gone to multiple medical calls, and the fire department was responding out there. It didn't become an issue really that the other neighbors complained to us about until they started coming over and having those medical issues around them.
Yeah, that's some of that bizarre behavior. I mean, it just got worse and worse.
Right.
I mean, the neighbors were trying to help until that point.
And actually passed along to us that they did not want to get him in trouble. That's why they weren't calling us for those kind of activities. Right.
And it's a unique situation. This is a guy who, a very short time ago, was a contributing person to society that had friends and a normal life, and then some type of trauma.
I was surprised when Mr. Roberson was telling us about how he traveled with him to Beijing and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We knew him from the gym, Stacy and I, when we first moved here. When I realized we were in that meeting, first moved here, got a job and then a house. We all went to the same gym, and I remember somebody, it all clicked in that meeting. Trent, he lived on this, and he told us he was a nurse. So he was actually, I guess, taking care of his parents. But this guy, we knew him for 5 or 10 years, ate lunch with him. He was, you know, a little bit peculiar, but the nicest person, like genuine human, and then to hear like just the slides, I mean, that was only, I had 10 years, a long time, 5 to 10 years, but I knew that guy personally.
Well,
Friends with him for a while, so.
2.5 years ago, I knocked on that door asking for their vote, and he was as lucid and clear as you could be,
Yeah.
and talked about his parents wouldn't be able to get out and vote because I guess mom was bedridden and dad was pretty weak. So I was like, oh, it can't be that house. So,
Okay, so we'll move on to item C, the sidewalk plan update.
sidewalk.
Mr. Warner.
We have a copy for everyone.
Yep, where we should. They were emailed out. I don't know how to put this out on the table where it's clear, so I'm gonna talk off of my, y'all can play with those all you want, and I'll talk off of my copy on my computer. We got together as a group, Ms. Linsky, Ms. Schultz and I, and we looked at what we have, and yeah, it's here. I can't even pull up the right one on my own. And first thing we did was update the map as to what we actually have. So everything that we have is in some shade of green. I changed in our copy the key down in the right-hand corner to show our proposed sidewalks as red, and those are mainly on roads that have a fair amount of traffic that are dangerous to walk at this point. And then from there, we looked at more interior sidewalks, which have some neighborhood connectivity in the various nodes. And one half of Rockdale Circle got pushed back to level 2, which is needed because they make connections that will allow people to get from interior neighborhoods out onto our main streets, which gets us out to where they can walk to shopping, where they can walk to the town center, where they can walk to the park. If you zoom in or look at the area at Briscoe Park, we had, right now, we've got the greenway that's coming in that's planned, and I don't know if that line is in the proper place. It's coming through whatever that
Preserves.
is. The preserves at Briscoe. But other than that, there's no access to the park from the backside, which means anybody back in Ravenwood or all the neighborhoods to the east can't get to the park without having to get in a car
And go
all the way around. So we put as question marks access from either Ravenwood or directly from Springdale if we can get easements to get in there. And I know there's some security issues as far as access to the park and hours and that sort of stuff. But if you have a park, you want people to be able to use it.
Right.
We removed some sidewalks. There was one up in the town center area that was planned for Pate going from the intersection of unknown use to back towards the medical offices there in Civic Drive. And truthfully,
there's nothing to walk to.
There's nothing to walk to there, and that whole area is hopefully going to
be redeveloped.
Redevelop very quickly as things move along.
Yeah, it's a connection between the intersection of 78 and 124.
Yeah, and it just doesn't
Back
make
to
sense.
Well, we also removed them where we thought commercial development would be occurring and
Right.
let the developers.
Yeah, right. There's certain gaps along 124 and some in 78 that will be filled in with development. with new development.
Right. So, anyway, it's color-coded. Some of them, in talking to Gay, some of the streets that we're putting as our primaries actually are county-maintained roads. And like the first part of Pinehurst, if you look at the drawing, it runs from Bobby Howard's house down to the four-way stop at the intersection of Roxborough and Valley Creek. I drew a circle there because from that point on, back towards the city limits, there is sewer in place already. From the circle back towards Bobby's house and Pine Street, all of that is still culverts and ditches. And so those would fall under stormwater projects and sidewalks. But if we are able to improve the water flow there, it keeps the water from going through the neighborhoods, which is what it's doing now. And all of these were designed pretty much with a gravity system where everything slopes to the back, and then there's this ditch that runs down to wherever the stream is, right, Jason? So if we can capture some of that at the roadways, I think it'll improve the safety of our roadways, but also improve the lives and conditions in the adjacent neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But I see, because now I live over on Pinehurst, I daily see people trying to walk along that road and push strollers and little kids on bikes, and it's extremely dangerous.
And we've talked to the county DOT about that also.
Yeah.
It's a county-maintained road.
They've been out and they've surveyed and they've marked, but all the markings on the pavement appear that they're just looking at paving, but there may be a plan in place already. We didn't reach out to them. If you notice on North Road, we took out the sidewalk on the opposite side. That's where Ms. Linsky was referring to the fact that those are areas that are the town, or the North Road overlay district. They're looking to be redeveloped in our long-range plan, so it doesn't make sense to go in and put a sidewalk on both sides of the street if one side is going to come out.
Not at this point.
Yeah, they just put new sidewalks in on
the one side.
Right. Yeah, those were all in red.
What is the yellow line?
The yellow, well, I'll get to it.
I was gonna say, talk about
I will.
Our wish list.
We had a letter at the beginning of the year, since the beginning of the year, from community members that live in Oak Meadow about not having sidewalk access, which would get them to the Oak Road Park and also out onto the main sidewalks. And originally, I thought, from my recollection, that we needed to be on the county side because it would cost less. Went out there and looked, and our side is the easier side. So we moved it back over there, but that is definitely one that...
Where are you continuing Mountain View? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Mountain View.
Okay.
Mountain View. Sometimes me no speak good.
I don't, just one thing, I don't want to cut you off, but...
I just have one more thing that I want to say.
Okay.
There is a yellow line that's shown from going from Summit Chase down to Skyland Glen. And that is following No Business Creek. And a good third of that distance is owned by Summit Chase Homeowners Association. And then there is one property owner that covers half of that distance, that if we were able to strike a deal with them, we could get a greenway that goes from the Summit Chase area along the creek, which has been very popular in Suwanee and in Lilburn. And if we were able to talk to our good friends, the Franklins, come out down by their drive and then come up Skyland, which would give a connection that you could theoretically go from one end of the town all the way to Briscoe Park without having to go out, without having to leave a sidewalk other than to cross streets. There's also, I know I said I was going to stop, from Summit Place, the big green neighborhood, onto Turf Terrace, or Timber Lane, you're right. there's a little bitty red line, and that is the property that we own that would allow us to put
Another
a sidewalk on our own property, on the house that we bought about 2 years ago, and allow walkers from the Misty River, Timberline, Summit Chase neighborhood to be able to walk to the Summit Place
Summit
neighborhood.
Place, yeah.
Summit Place has sidewalks, but it's all internal. So if we could just put that little bit of sidewalk across the house we own, we would be able to have some connectivity. Likewise, if we were able to ever strike a deal on the Greenway path, we could probably look at an access point to the Summit Place. And with that, I will conclude.
Yeah.
The rest of it's fairly self-explanatory.
Okay.
Probably most of it.
To the high points.
And I did reach out to Gay, got her digital copies, we'll get her paper copies to get her input. It's just,
Who needs one?
Good work.
And just, yeah, it's just need to sit and absorb everything. And then, what our overall vision was to connect as many neighborhoods as we could and get the most bang for our buck in those connections. And stepping back and looking at the configurations, I think that we really did pull that off. So we're proud.
We're proud of it.
Very
Yeah,
proud.
we think it's a good plan for several years.
In many ways, in many levels.
but certainly it's a plan that needs everybody's input.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we need to start getting some cost estimates on
Well, I think
some
we
of
need to
those
get input
lakes.
first.
Well,
Because
I know.
there may be, no, I don't want a sidewalk.
I know, but
Yeah, some people don't want a connection.
Right. But I want to get all of mayor and council input
Yeah.
before, and Gay Johnson, Public Works input, maybe input from the police before we even start talking numbers or look at anything like that.
Or getting neighborhoods involved.
So we have one more thing on our work session agenda that is on the actual agenda, the regular meeting agenda that we need to talk about, and then we need a short exec session before our meeting too, so just run a little short on time.
Okay.
So item D, Todd,
I thought we were doing that in exec session.
is that, okay.
Are we-
I wasn't sure if that was something different or if that was the exec session, okay.
And just for public input, we want to make sure, we only get one shot at our town center. We have a beautiful town center overlay. It's come to our attention that there are some issues that
Need to be solved.
because we want to be as perfect as possible, because once it's built, it's going to be there for the rest of our lives. And that's it.
Okay. So during the work session of the mayor and city council of Snellville, Georgia, Mayor Bender announced that certain matters should be discussed in a closed session of the meeting and asked council to advise the city